Well, I wanted to have you on just because I think it's really cool. Like people have been talking about the guy who's opening up the weed store downtown for the last year. It feels like. I work with Kyle at Kasai and Danny Steaks and all that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so I'm down there a lot. So it's been cool to see the progress of everything you guys have got going on there.
Yeah.
And I'm just really, like the article came out yesterday from Don at the Post, talking about Armory Square and the development or, kind of lack thereof and of the area. And hopefully things are going to be changing. But it's I just wanted to have you on and talk about that and get to know you. I think it's cool.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So for everyone who's watching or listening who doesn't know who you are or what you're doing, can you tell us a little bit?
My name's Mike Flynn. I'm doing the Flynstoned Cannabis dispensary down in Armory Square at the old Urban Outfitters building. I also own the company, the Roofing Guys, and a couple other local businesses. But yeah, we're doing the dispensary. And we're doing it big. So.
Yeah, 3-story dispensary in downtown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, 13,000 square foot. So.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What made you want to jump into that and do that business?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Selling weed was my first job ever, and I'll be damned if it's not my last. So, I've always just been into it my whole life, all through the teenage years, and all through my adult years too. And I've been waiting for this day forever.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah. I never sold weed. I used to smoke it a lot, but I never sold it. But there was a time in high school where a buddy of mine who was selling everybody weed, I was doing the math and thinking to myself, "Holy cow, there could be a lot of money in that." Well, that's cool, man. Yeah. I mean, it's wild to think that things are legal.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys are still waiting on a bunch of stuff to go through on your end, right?
Yeah. So I'm still waiting on all the licenses. We're still waiting on all the regulations to actually pass. So once that happens, the applications for the license should come out in December of this year. Yeah. And I mean, I've got all my ducks in a row to get that license as soon as I can.
Okay.
But as far as the actual dispensary goes, construction's 100% done. We're literally ready to open tomorrow if we could.
Wow.
So yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, it's legal now to purchase and grow to a certain extent, right? And obviously use, but it's not legal yet for dispensaries to pop up. Is that how it works?
That's correct. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But there are weird things like, there's the farmers markets, right? Where you can go buy a candle or a sticker and get other stuff, like have it gifted to you.
Yeah. So I'm steering clear of all that stuff just because I got too much riding on this big thing down here. Plus I have all the other businesses, for my financial needs, so it's not like I need. This is more of just my passion, and I don't care if I make $1 on this deal. I'm doing it because I want to do it. But a lot of those guys are out there hustling, putting food on the table and everything, and I totally respect that. Yeah. And but yeah, it's definitely a gray area. You got to get it somehow, though, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I've been wanting to get. So I used to smoke weed a lot, and then, so I grew up in like church and all that kind of stuff, and I'm a theology major, and I used to work at a mega church out in Texas, and for a couple of years, and out at that church in Texas, they had these really strict. It was like if you're going to work at this church, you had to sign a contract that said you would never partake of any alcohol, you wouldn't partake of any tobacco products, and you wouldn't gamble, and you would tithe every week, and so it was a pretty strict environment. Yeah. And so I think that's probably when I stopped, and then just coming back, I just never really got back into it. But over the past year, I've been wanting to get more back into smoking marijuana, and also I've really wanted to get into mushrooms just for like business creativity purposes. Yeah. To try and see what that would kind of bring out for new ideas for the business. Yeah. So I need to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that tell me the same thing, and they just so for example, a lot of people come to me and say the same thing, like, hey, I used to smoke a ton back in the day. I hear everything's way stronger now, blah, blah, blah. You know, they want to know what they're getting into. And this is the good thing about having the dispensary and everybody working at it. You can pick from different products.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be very knowledgeable of exactly what everything is. So there's a certain something for everybody, you know? And so I'm pretty excited for that. But even like the guys at the farmer market too, if you went to one and you asked everybody, they'd give you exactly basically what you're looking for if you explain it to them, you know?
Yeah.
But
are people looking at you as like the weed expert right now?
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, no, I mean, there is a lot of people that message me. I get like 100 messages on Instagram a day about when we're opening and everything.
Okay, yeah.
But I get a lot of questions like that too. A lot of people are asking the differences between, you know, edibles and flower and all that stuff. They want to know what they're going to get into, and they can't wait for the doors to open so we can show it all to them. But.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, just sitting around the house last night, I was thinking through, like, how it works. You know, I've had Eat Local New York now for 5, going on 6 years, and I thought I knew a lot about the restaurant industry until this year. I became a partner in a restaurant and a partner in a bar, and then it's like, holy cow, you know, your eyes are open to really what happens in the industry. And so now seeing, like, thinking through buying and, you know, purchasing and, you know, finding vendors and all that kind of stuff. And then so last night I was thinking, well, how the hell is a dispensary going to work? Like, where do you go? I mean, it's not like there's suppliers out there. Like, you don't have a Cisco of,
Right.
You know, so you have to go to individual growers.
No, so I have to go through a distributor.
Okay.
And then the cultivator is first in line, and then he gives it to the processor, which gives it to the distributor, and then I'm last in line as the retail.
Okay.
So there is a process there.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a Cisco of cannabis, but we'll see what happens though. We're all still waiting on the regs. So I know that a lot of these cultivators actually have the opportunity to self-distribute. So
Okay.
And I am in the loop with everybody that's in the industry. So
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to, you know, I got the connections to get everybody's product on the shelves.
Yeah.
So
This is wild. It's like now I'm thinking of like beer distribution because I'm friends with a lot of like local breweries, and the beer business sucks if you're a craft brewer because distribution, you know, if you self distribute, you have to have that massive system in place, which is wildly expensive. Your margins on wholesale are razor thin, especially in beer. Because, you know, the retailer has to make a healthy profit. And if you go through a distributor, you're usually last in line as a small guy because unless you just pop like I forget the name of the brewery who does Heady Topper and all that, but unless you just get massively popular right out of the gates, you're going to be last in line through distribution because they're pushing, you know, Anheuser-Busch or Miller, or, you know, you're going against those two big ones. And those companies have a shit ton of money to give out to the small restaurants for, you know, promotions and, you know, sometimes they're, you know, beer systems or whatever. So I wonder how that's going to work with distribution and, you know, marijuana. I wonder if there's going to be, or maybe there is. I don't know if there is like already like one massive distributor that's kind of like building their network now.
yeah, you know, I really don't. I guess none of us really know the answer to that yet.
Yeah.
But and then I guess it's all still up in the air because I've been talking to a lot of the processors, and maybe they can distribute too. I just right now everything is so up in the air. We're waiting on the state to give us the final answers on all that.
That's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
That's going to be a wild, wild world as soon as that all pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been looking at like other states that have had it legalized or dispensaries to kind of, you know, inspiration or get ideas for how it's going to work?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I based my dispensary off of the biggest dispensary in the world. It's called Planet 13. It's in Vegas.
Oh wow.
It's wild. If you ever go to Vegas, you got to go check it out. But it's top notch. It kind of reminds me of like the Apple Store vibe.
Okay.
And you'll have to come check the place out if you got time.
Yeah.
One of these days.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
similar to that, but I put my own spin on it, of course.
Okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be pretty wild. But that's what I based mine off of. And then as far as like just the planning process, yeah, I based everything on like other cities and towns our size to try to see how many employees I think I'll need, what I think I'm going to do in sales the first year and all that. And we predict 15 million first year in, but of course it's just a prediction.
Holy shit.
So who knows? I'll let you know once we open.
Yeah,
But,
right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is wild. It's like my brain is spinning with like all the like thinking about all the different, like who else is going to be popping up and say like no one else is building. I mean, there's 1911 is doing their stuff, but I'm assuming they're going into THC because obviously they're pushing all. The hell's the name of it? The non-psychosis.
the CBD. Well, right now they have the CBD stuff. So they're big with the drinks.
Yeah.
They're going to do a lot of the drinks and a lot of the oil pens, the vape pens, and all that.
Huh.
And yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm good. I'm buddies with those guys though, so I stay in touch with them, and I'll have to check in and see how they're doing. But yeah, they've already got their license and they're on their way. So
and they're obviously growing a lot out there. But yeah, I mean, who else? I don't really know. I mean, I know Head and Heel, right? They're doing a lot in CBD, and I know they're kind of ready for it to turn over.
Yeah.
But in terms of dispensaries in Syracuse, I don't know. I know there's a couple small ones, but there's nobody that's doing anything, putting as much of an investment into it like you are.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't heard of anybody yet doing it like this, unless they're just staying quiet. But I don't know. I just let the cat out of the bag early because I literally have been waiting for this forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who else opens up and what kind of establishment they're going to build.
Yeah. I heard months ago, but I know it's not the case anymore especially because of the article that came out yesterday, that someone was trying to build a consumption lounge in the old Empire space.
Yeah.
But I know obviously that's not happening because it's, there's nothing that's going on down there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was interesting at the last November to see all the towns and villages that were voting on, whether they were going to allow it or not. And not too surprising, all the small ones that turned it down, voted it down.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Syracuse landscape changes, in regards to this.
Yeah. I with the downtown shop, I hope that thousands of people will come down there, obviously, because I want business to boom. But I also am looking for business to boom in the Armory Square, too.
Yeah.
And so I own another building down there. I have like 30 tenants in the building. And, I'm hoping to bring business and share it with everybody right down the whole block. And I know it's going to, too. So, but... Yeah. So, and then, I'm doing a couple other things down there to try to bring people back down there. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mill Pond building, but it's a very large building, and it goes all the way. It's the very first building in Armory Square, next to the Creek Walk.
Yeah.
There's that parking lot right there. So I'm doing a huge mural on the whole entire side of the building.
Yeah.
And it's like an interactive mural, so you can. I did it basically for like Instagram pictures.
Yeah.
So like one spot you can hold a fishing pole and it's catching a fish.
Yeah, for sure.
Another spot you're throwing a basketball in a hoop or whatever,
Yeah.
And
Allie did that, right?
Allie,
Yeah, Allie's great.
Yep, she's good. So she did a lot of murals inside the dispensary too. So you'll see
really?
that. It's pretty wild. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's your? Do you have a besides just seeing Armory kind of bustle more and more business down there? Do you have a hope or a vision for what you want Armory Square to look like? In 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that Eureka building do something, and whether it's I would love to see more restaurants and shopping down there, because that's what it needs, so people go down there and they literally spend a whole entire afternoon, But I'm doing my part anyways, and I would like to see all the storefronts fill back up.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I actually bought my first building down there right as the pandemic hit. And we lost a lot of tenants because of the whole thing. But now we're almost back to 100% in the building. Yeah, so things are coming back.
Yeah.
So
how was that for, I mean, because you own the roofing guys, correct?
Yeah.
So how was that business affected with the pandemic?
It was definitely affected as far as the labor force goes.
Yeah.
But we've adapted, and we're actually doing bigger and better than ever. So we adapted in a good way. So
yeah. Yeah, because there were a lot of people were doing a bunch of home renovation projects and that kind of stuff during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. A lot of them, sure, were doing DIY projects. I don't think. Hopefully, not many of them were doing roofing DIY projects.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. We did get a lot of people just renovating their homes, like you said, and then our only hard part was the guys, all the labor, because once that unemployment hit, and then everybody, just right sure. down the line, restaurant business. So you know this probably, because I saw a lot of restaurants go down to half staff, and similar to the roofing industry, but we're back and we're better than ever.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the restaurant industry to a certain degree still has those issues with staffing. I started this thing. I just filmed the first one 2 days ago, but I'm interviewing one restaurant owner from each state in America, and so we're gonna have like 50 states, 50 different restaurant owners.
Nice.
And I just, I know I've had things where, especially like we do social media management for some businesses in town, and that's kind of a quiet industry. You don't really see, especially in our area, you don't see too many people. There's not like a big group or like public group of people. It's like, oh, I own a marketing company, right? Unless it's like the big ones. So I know as a business owner, if I hear of another business owner who's like struggling with the same thing, it's like, oh, you are, it's like reassuring almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to do this just to see what restaurants struggle with, and then, what their advice is for success. All over the country, to kind of say, hey, all right, it's happening in other places, or what are things that are working. And this guy I interviewed was in Pittsburgh, and it's a deli and craft beer spot, and he was saying they've got a small staff, but they were just dealing with the same issues that everybody else was when it came to staffing. I mean, places are still closing today in Syracuse that just today's special just posted they have to shut down until further notice because of staffing. So it's crazy. I don't know what no one knows why that still is the issue.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everything just bounces back soon here. Seems like it is, But
yeah, it does. I don't know if it's more people that started like their side hustle, like went full time with their side hustle during the pandemic. Because they had the time and kind of money to do so. I don't know if it's just a lot of people working remote jobs. I mean, somebody just posted yesterday a list of like 20 national companies, global companies that are hiring stay-at-home workers and like sending them equipment, to do like, it was like CVS and, call centers and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it's, those massive companies are having the same issues or not, or if it's people just, staying home working and not going to the local jobs, or what the case is. Or if it was just a big move, I mean, New York State's lost 2 million residents in the past couple years. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah. I know everybody's moving down to Florida. Seriously. Cause I told you I got the house down there, and, every house that's up for sale, it seems like somebody from New York bought it.
Really?
In our neighborhood anyways.
Yeah. You like it down there?
Yeah, I love it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you from originally? Are you from here?
Yeah, right from Lakeland, over in Lakeland, Armstrong Road. I grew up on Armstrong Road.
Yeah.
I went to West Genesee High School.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And I graduated from West Hill back in 2005. So we moved here when I was 13, but I grew up in northern Kentucky. I've never been to Florida. I don't think I'd like it because I lived in Texas and I hated the wildlife there. So I can't imagine what it's like in Florida. So, yeah. Is it ever? I mean, because Florida's it's got to be so much better for business, right? Have you ever thought about like packing up and moving down there?
I totally have.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I actually went through the licensing process to start a roofing company down there. And then just the more I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute. I go down here to get away from this. What am I doing? So, but I am starting to get into real estate down there and starting to build my portfolio down there because eventually I would love to just move down there. And then I'd always keep a house here in Syracuse.
Yeah.
But Florida is paradise, I'll tell you.
I'm sure there's parts of it, but I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a wildlife. It's not that I'm not a wildlife fan. That makes me sound like a douche. I don't like things that can kill me in the wildlife. So
gators and sharks and snakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A friend of mine and his wife, they went on vacation 2 years ago to Myrtle Beach, and while they were there, bought a house, and they moved down there. Had the house built. It was like one of those, developments, and so they moved down there, and they have this ponds in their backyard. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no fucking way. Because there's like signs all over the place for alligators.
Yep.
And there's just, in Texas, between like the scorpions and the rattlesnakes or the tarantulas, I was good. I did my 2 years there and I was set.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about, how you got, the roofing guys started. Because, how long have you been in business with that?
This is year 17,
Wow.
Season 17. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I needed to get to work, so I got a job. So basically,
Yeah, I know you
I'll
just put the Instagram post out.
Okay, so if you saw the post,
yeah.
I'll just be honest with you here, man, and just tell you the deal. So, all right. So my teenage years were kind of rough.
Yeah.
I ended up dropping out of school, getting heavy into drugs and all that stuff. My job was basically hustling drugs, but never for like big profits though. I never made any money from it. It was just to support my own life, my own habits, my own life, But so anyways, it was basically a giant bender for like 10 years or whatever, maybe more. And then finally it just got to the point where it's like, wow, I'm at the rock bottom. I got to stop doing this. So got a job with a local roofer, $10 an hour. So, I mean, it was paying some bills, but not really that much. I could never really get ahead on that. Right. So I learned everything in the whole trade, and I was basically running his whole crew for $10 an hour. And then, so anyways, I started thinking and started dreaming and put it all together. Opened up the Roofing Guys in 2006, and I think so. My first job that I did, it was a very small job. First job I did took me a couple hours, and I made more than I made with my employer all week in just a couple hours. And from that day forward, I just kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How old were you? Like what, 24, 25?
24 years old when I started it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's was it scary? I mean obviously, you did that job and, made all the money, but was it scary starting your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I was coming off everything and putting life back together, and it was tough because I was so young, and these roofs, an average roof is $10,000. So I'm sitting there asking for these customers for $10,000, and I'm just some young kid, versus the other guy that comes through the door that just probably has it. I don't know. I definitely felt like I had to hustle extra hard to get these jobs. But once I got the jobs, everything I did was top notch materials. If there was ever a problem, I'd go back and I'd fix it. And that's why I have the name I have today in the roofing industry. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. It's the roofing business is interesting. On our street. We live on the north side, and there was one house down the street. I forget the name of the company. It was one of the big companies in Syracuse who did the job. And, these massive, colorful dumpsters and, all that kind of stuff. And, all the safety harnesses and, all that. Yeah. And then the next week, the person across the street had their roof done, and there was none of that. Like, There was like 10 people up on the roof, a very tall, steep roof. Nobody had any safety gear. They're carrying sheets of plywood up this massive ladder. You know, it was pretty funny to see the stark contrast between the two companies.
Yeah, there's all different walks of life out there doing this, but we play by the rules and by the book, and that's definitely something you got to look out for when you're hiring a roofing contractor. You don't want a guy up there without harness and all that stuff. But
so what's that like, you know, having that business and starting it like in those first couple years? Was it like at what point did you see like massive growth? Because you're a massive company today, correct?
Yeah. I don't want to sound cocky here, but we're the biggest and the best. So.
Man.
But so the first couple of years, I blew up right away because I gave it my all. From the second I woke up to the second I went to sleep at night, and then even in my sleep I worked and tossing and turning, but thinking about what I'm doing in the morning and everything. But I just gave it my all right off the bat, and I blew up right away. There's something kind of special happened when I opened up. There was 5 big companies that all kind of went down at the same time.
Wow.
So they all kind of went out of business at the same time.
Huh.
And then I kind of picked up their slack.
All roofing companies?
Yeah, all roofing companies. So roofers are a different breed, man.
Yeah.
A lot of them are into the booze and the drugs, and that's what happened to a lot of those companies that I'm talking about. I won't say names, but couple of overdoses, couple suicides, couple jail sentences, and some rehab sentences or whatever. But it all happened at one time.
Wow.
So I kind of picked up their slack on top of hustling my ass off. So that's how it really happened fast like that.
Wow.
And then every year is just bigger and better. You know, got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
So
what was like the 2008, 2009 housing crisis like for you? I was 21 and had a furniture store at the time that I opened up with a buddy, and we tanked after a year into business. We went out, and I don't remember why. Looking back on it, I know why, because we made stupid decisions, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I thought sales tax was just extra free money. That's how dumb I was. But what was that like going through that?
So that's the exact time I'm talking about right now.
Oh,
and
really?
so the good thing is, no matter what's happening in the world, everybody needs a roof.
Yeah.
And if that thing's leaking, it doesn't matter if we're in and whatever state the world is in, you got to get that roof fixed, right?
Yeah.
So in 2008, when all that stuff was happening, that's when all that stuff happened with those 5 companies that I'm talking about.
Okay.
It was right in 2008. So I opened in 2006, in about September of 2006, and then I did another full year in 2007, and that's when they started kind of messing up a little bit. So 2008, when that happened, that's when I really started picking up. So to answer the question, that was my go time. I was doing great.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Huh. So now I'm curious. I've never had to. I've been a homeowner for 6 years. I've never had to replace a roof besides like a small section last year because we had a leak. But and so it wasn't a massive expense. How important is financing, like in the roofing industry for you for getting jobs? Like, is it a big deal for the furniture store? It can be make or break if you offer financing or not.
Yeah.
If you push it. So is it the same thing with roofing?
Yeah. When I finally started offering financing, I think back in like 2012 or 11 or 12, and I literally watched my sales double.
Wow.
Yeah, because a roof's expensive, and not everybody offers financing. So probably like the company you saw.
Yeah.
Without all the harness and all that stuff, I don't think they offer
No,
financing. It definitely helps big time, especially with these big purchases.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's in the furniture industry, can be the deal breaker.
Yeah.
It often is the deal breaker. I spent about 10 years at Metro Mattress, especially, towards the end of my career there, you're selling a $10,000 bed, $5,000 mattress, and people are like walking out the door, and then you mention financing. It's like, oh, okay, great, we'll buy it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of people money in that industry for sure.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
So, so you get the business started in, 06, and year or two later, all of a sudden you see this massive growth. What was your mindset like back then? Were you thinking to yourself, okay, this is like, did you have the path laid out of, I'm going to go from this $10,000 job to, I don't know what you do a year in sales, but I'm sure it's a lot, to I'm going to get to X in 10 years or?
Yeah, going into the whole thing, I just had the mindset, go big or go home. I wanted to be the biggest and the best. So I just kept pushing for it. And I'd like to say I made it happen, man. But I don't know, there's probably someone that doesn't agree with me. But, we definitely do a lot of roofs out there around here anyways, But I think last year we did just over 20,000 squares. I forget how many roofs it actually was, but I think it was somewhere around like 1,200 roofs.
Wow.
In Syracuse alone.
Holy shit.
And then we're in Rochester too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many roofs, but it's not as big as the operation here.
Yeah. Is that kind of the hope for the next phase of the business, is to expand into those other cities?
No, I think I'm pretty much content now with the way it is. So I back in 2017, I opened up the Rochester division, and it was going awesome. The day that I signed a lease for an office out there, we had this hurricane windstorm that came through, and pretty much every roof in Rochester needed to get done. So I kind of blew up out there right off the bat, and then a couple years went by, and then the pandemic hit. So that actually hurt me out there because I was a newer company. And the home shows got canceled. They do the home shows in like March and April.
That's a big one out there.
Yeah, and that sets us off for the year because let's say we get 100 jobs off the home show. Well, those 100 people all have relatives and neighbors and everybody, so we kind of start the year rolling with that, and that got canceled 2 years in a row because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I kind of settled down a little bit, but during that time, New York State announced legal cannabis. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to put my focus more there. Yeah. And we'll just keep the roofing guys the way it is here in Syracuse.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I started doing the marketing for a landscaping company last year. A buddy of mine who owns a restaurant in Syracuse, who got it to a point where he could kind of step back from it. He just, for some reason, loves doing landscaping. He had all the professional gear to do his own yard and take care of it. And so last year he said, I'm going to start a landscaping company. And so so I was doing the marketing for him, and I was very surprised at how much easier it is to do marketing and get results and like that than it is a restaurant. And the other thing I thought was astounding was all of the work that he gets in that neighborhood, like you were saying, the neighbors, the family members, because he'll go and mow somebody's lawn, and 3 neighbors will come out and say, "Hey, can you give me an estimate?" That alone, was probably a third of his business last year and this year.
Yeah,
just from people walking up to him.
Same here. Yeah. Once you get in a neighborhood, it's everybody sees you doing a good job. Everybody comes over, and that's a big part of our advertisement right there. Just getting in there, planting the seed, and letting it grow. So.
Yeah. Do you do the fair, the New York Fair?
The fair,
the state fair. Like, do you guys have a
booth or something? No, I don't.
We do just like home shows.
Yeah, just home shows when they're at the fair. We do that every year. That also, this year was the first year back, and that was like half. I don't know if you went or not.
I didn't go to this one. No.
It was canceled the 2 previous years, and then this year it was only like half booked. But I don't even know if they're going to do it next year, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't a great turnout this year, but yeah. Yeah.
So I've had Eat Local for I started it 6 years ago. It's changed. When literally the night that I started it, I had no idea what we were going to do as a business. I just knew that I wanted to. My dad was a chef and restaurant owner my whole life, and So I had some idea of the struggle small restaurant owners went through and experienced. And then when I lived in Texas, I was right near Austin, and so seeing that amazing food scene in Austin, and that's 6-7 years ago, and then coming back to Syracuse and seeing the difference, I knew I wanted to do something to help local restaurants and help build that, build up the food scene here in Central New York. So I was just kind of talking through those ideas and came up with a name for the business. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to do something. And then the concept now is kind of solidified to, we have the card right there and, the discount card. And, really at the end of the day, my hope is just to be able to drive people into a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I can post and say, we're about to put out a blog today for Hides. I hope that sends them a ton of business.
Yeah.
That's, kind of the goal.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a good job because your latest post with the Danny Steaks.
Oh yeah.
We're treating the guys to some Danny Steaks today.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. It worked.
It worked.
Everybody, it worked. But for me, even just in the past month, because I've built Eat Local New York, now we're the whole state. Even though most of our focus is right here in Central New York, is just where I'm at, and it's just me. We still have restaurants that we work with in Buffalo and Rochester and downstate. But it's kind of like, people saw me build Eat Local New York, and everything we do is on social media up until a few months ago. So restaurants would reach out to have me, do the same for their manage their social media marketing, right? So that took off so much that I quit my full-time job last September to do this full-time, which was a dumb move. Only because running a marketing, business, and at the height that I had 17 clients, it's impossible to do by myself. To do that, you have to have a team, and so I've just realized in the last month that was the wrong move for the business. I should have been focusing for Eat Local New York more on building the content out, like starting new shows on our YouTube channel, doing more of these podcasts, writing more blogs, going out there and kind of building the content side and pushing the card more instead of focusing on, I'm now a marketing agency, right? So now it's kind of like, now that I've realized that, it's kind of like, okay, being partners in these two, the restaurant and the bar is kind of going to give me the freedom to focus a little bit more on that, and building that side of things. So I said that whole long story to ask this question. Was there a time of like something similar with the roofing guys where it was like, okay, I need to shift and do things differently now?
Yeah, absolutely. So after the whole time period, I told you when I kind of blew up there in 08, 09 and all that, I finally, so at that time, I was my secretary, I was my installer, I was my everything.
Yeah.
And then, so at that time is when I was like, all right, I gotta do this differently because this isn't working. I'm literally working from dusk till dawn every day, and I when I say that, I really mean it, man.
Yeah. Sure.
And so then I started hiring a secretary and sales estimators, so I didn't have to go meet up with all these customers. I could stay and focus on the job. And then after that, I was like, wait a minute, I got to start hiring more guys to focus on the job so I can focus on growing the business and buying more equipment and doing all this when I couldn't do a lot of this stuff when I was up on the roof shingling.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, definitely, there's definitely times where I was like, all right, I got to transition here or else I'm never going to grow the right way or whatever, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How do you starting? With Flynstoned, do you view it like you're going to have to go through the same process, or is it like, okay, now I know what to,
So I actually set this company up without me in it.
Okay.
So I've already, now with the experience I have running business, and I know what I think I know what I need, but I guarantee we get into this and there's going to be a lot of adjustments that need to be made. But no, I'm setting this up with me not involved at all. So there's management all the way down the line of all the things that a normal business startup would do.
Yeah.
You know, so. But I'm sure that there's going to be changes, though, and I'm sure we're going to have to adjust and adapt. And I'm sure that I'm probably going to have to change half the stuff I've already done down there once the new regulations come out anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I can have the name Flynstone or the logo or anything.
Yeah.
Yet. But
yeah, because a lot of the things that they came out with were saying, like, it has to be, like, the most, cookie cutter kind of, it's wild.
Yeah. So if I can't name it Flynstone, I'll probably just name it Flynstoned Cannabis Company.
Yeah.
That's been my nickname since I was born, Flynner.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'm hoping for Flynstone, though, because that's the vision and that's the dream.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to make some assumptions of you real quick, okay? As a very successful business owner, has it been challenging to not start new businesses over the, I don't know at what point you would say in your personal life, okay, like I'm successful now. But let's just say that's 10 years, right? So over the last 10 years, has it been challenging to say, like, have an idea for a business and not do it?
Yeah, I always, the wheels are always turning in my head,
Yeah.
man. And I have started some other businesses. So we started up a dumpster company. It's a spin-off off the roofing company, and that's doing awesome. It's called Green Team Dumpster Rentals.
Okay.
It's actually my wife's company.
Yeah.
so she runs that from start to finish.
That's cool.
And then I flip houses, build houses, and then I've now gotten into the commercial real estate, and I do a ton of rental properties and stuff like that. But now I'm in the commercial real estate, and that's going good. So I'm trying to get rid of all the residential stuff and put it all to commercial.
Okay.
But now I'm to the point where I still have all these ideas, and I'm still onto some other things. But I think, so I have one more big project I'm going to be working on. I'll tell you about in a second. But after this project, I still want to get into other projects. But I at this point, I just want to fund them and let somebody else do it and just give them the finances to do it and just be an investor.
Yeah.
But the next project is I just bought a golf course.
Oh, awesome.
It's the old
I
Pope's
heard
Grove.
about that.
Yeah, the old Pope's Grove. So we're going to do a restaurant.
That's awesome.
Taphouse or brewery. I still don't know.
Don't do a brewery.
Don't do a brewery. I know. So I think it's just going to be a big restaurant. So I'm going big on this one too, man.
That's cool.
So the vibe is kind of like back to Vegas again.
Oh,
so,
nice, yeah.
Vegas.
Hey, I was out there for the first time in February, and I loved it. Absolutely loved Las Vegas.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite place on earth. I try to go a couple times a year, and so the vibe of this place is I wanted to, like, when you walk into one of these big casinos, it's like a big grand entrance, and basically I want this to feel like a big hotel lobby or a big casino lobby when you walk in, and then like maybe a little steakhouse over here, a little pub over here, and then like a event space or whatever. I've got a lot of ideas, but that's what I'm going for over there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I'm going to do an outdoor stage and all that, an event center. It's 50 acres
of
lush green grass. It's a golf course.
Yeah.
So plenty of parking.
Are you going to keep the golf course portion of it? Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm going to incorporate something in there, maybe some frisbee golf or something. I got a lot of people asking to do different things, and I definitely want to incorporate some sort of golf in there to try to keep it alive a little bit down there. But yeah, it's going to be, I just feel like Syracuse needs a place where, don't you hate when you go somewhere and it's a Friday night and you can't park? Yeah. It makes you not want to go there, right? Right. So this is going to be somewhere where there's not going to be an issue of parking, put it that way. Yeah. Right now in the phase one, I have 1,000 parking spots. Wow. but then we have overflow parking of 50 acres of golf course. So I'm
cool.
sure that there's never going to be a parking issue, but that's like my big thing is, man, even going to, just a couple of the breweries around here, it's tough to get parking if there's an event going on or a band playing or something like that. So,
yeah.
So that's going to be pretty huge.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's, so the bar that I'm a part of is Abbott Farms out in Baldwinsville.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been out there before, but the family farm that's been there for over 100 years. And, they're a fruit farm. So, they grow strawberries and blueberries and apples and pumpkins and sunflowers and corn. And so their game time is, June to October. And they're massively busy in those times whenever they have like a strawberry festival and you pick strawberries and all that kind of stuff. But they have this massive piece of property out there. And they're always like, they've got like a farm store and an ice cream stand and like a grill food shed. And they've always had a cidery, bar there. But they've only ever done their hard cider and then really shitty wine. And I've been doing their social media for this is my third year with them. And so long story short, I said, well, what if I came out and ran the bar this year and, kind of became a partner in it. So now I'm running the bar program and, we've added cocktails and craft beer and good wine and
nice.
All that kind of stuff. I've noticed, and I've only been doing it for 2 months now, I've noticed if I just have like a food truck and a band show up, people don't care anymore. Like, people don't show up just for that. That used to, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that would be a massive draw.
Right.
Oh, you've got a band and a food truck? Great, we'll be there. If we do events, like I threw a country fest, I called it, last Friday. I was on vacation, so I wasn't even there for it. I didn't think it was going to be that busy, but it was like the busiest night we've ever had at the bar.
No kidding.
We had Limp Lizard food truck there, and they sold out of food an hour in and had to go get more.
Wow.
But it was like we had something everywhere on the farm for people to do. So you could show up. We had 2 bands. We had a food truck, but then we also had a special thing going on at the bar. We also had, fire pits for families and s'mores packs for them. And they also had all these kids activities and kind of like what you're saying, like you can't just kind of do one narrow thing anymore. You have to have some big thing going on. You have to have like this space where somebody can show up who wants this, but somebody else can show up who wants that, and they can all do it in one spot.
Yeah.
And that's how you really, for lack of, make money today. I was talking to my friend Nick, who is a part owner at Limp Lizard and partner with 3 One Fried, and he called me one night and he was just like, you can't just open up a restaurant anymore. You have to have something big going on all the time if you really want to make money in it. So that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not actually going to start that project. I was going to start it 2025 and have it. Well, I'm going to start it earlier than that, but by the time I open it, it would be 2025. But now that I'm held up with the licensing, I think it's going to now push to 2026. But it's going to be big.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see everything that's changing in Syracuse. And this is kind of my hope. This is like, I think this is my hope with for the pandemic, and I've been saying this for like the last year on the podcast, as bad as it sounds. The people that have gotten out of businesses and gotten out of their restaurants and stuff as a result of the pandemic, or the pandemic just helped them get out of it, it's making room for people to come in and do new cool things, bring in a new concept or start a new development or whatever the case is. And I think we're kind of, at least we're starting to hear, some things have opened, but we're starting to hear of all the people who are like in like what you're doing, starting to build this stuff out. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see this in Syracuse.
Hell yeah, man.
So you're waiting on all the regulations and all the, final go ahead, and there's kind of no word of when any of that's going to take place, right?
I mean, I there's bits and pieces of word, but just by December of this year, we should have all the final word out and applications in hand.
Okay.
So I'll know what I really need to do by December this year, and that'll give me. So I don't think I'll be open until second quarter of next year.
Oh wow!
I'd love to be open by April because April 20th is one of the biggest days in the cannabis industry, and we plan to shut down the whole block, have a huge party.
Oh, cool!
On Walton Street, and should be awesome.
Yeah. That's wild. I thought it was going to be like next month. I thought it was like waiting in a week now or something.
No,
wow.
I wish. No, I won't be open till next year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What a fucking investment on your side.
Yeah, man.
Because you're ready to go, right? I mean,
I'm ready to go, and so just so you know, with like so when it comes to cannabis, I can't get any loans or anything. Like in real estate, when you're buying a big building, typically you put a down payment down on it, and then you put it on a mortgage, and the rents come in, and you pay your mortgage, and everything, all your overhead of the building, and whatever's left over is profit, whatever.
Yeah.
So this is a different story. The banks won't work with me, so I had to come up with all cash for the building. So that's a $2 million purchase there, and I put $1.2 million into the renovation. And again, I couldn't get a bank loan yet. So eventually I would like to recoup some of that and actually put it on a loan. But they're waiting on the regulations too. All the banks are waiting on the regulations too. But the thing is, it's federally illegal still.
Yeah, right.
And most banks are federal banks unless you go through a credit union. But it's a tough one. But yeah, big investment, no money coming in on the building. So
wow.
Yeah, but we actually are going to, so upstairs in the top of the building, I did an event space.
Oh, cool.
And so I will be renting that out to businesses for whatever they want to do up there, luncheons, whatever, business conferences, all that kind of stuff. So, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of income, but I really don't think that's going to be much, but it'll be enough to keep the lights on.
Yeah. Can you do alcohol in the same space or no?
So I'm not going to get into to all that with a liquor license because you can't do. I can't hold a liquor license and a license to distribute THC. But we set it up for a catering company, and I guess I don't really know too much about the catering process right now. I got to learn that, but I think they hold the license and they can come in, and so
they have to pull a temporary permit for it, and usually if they're doing offsite stuff. I don't know how that affects it if it's in the same building with, THC. But right now, like if a catering company were to show up somewhere, they'd have to pull, temporary, which isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can do that because it'll probably make it funner up there.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
Somebody's renting it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I'm excited for it to open up. I'm excited to see kind of how it affects, business in downtown Syracuse, and just kind of the overall vibe in Syracuse, because right now it does feel, we did we're starting sort of an events company to do because we started doing bar crawls this past year, and so I'm starting an events company to do a lot more of those events, and we did one of them, and we did an after party at the rail line, and they were like, well, hey, we can hand out a free pre-roll or whatever they call it to everybody that comes to the after party. And I was like, that could be really cool to start advertising that now and kind of be the first to do something like that. But at the same time, I don't want to get in trouble with anybody from doing it. And so I think and then I found out that you can't do that at all right now. You can't.
Yeah.
And so I think it's still like nobody really knows, and some people are kind of taking the risks with it, but nobody really knows what's allowed or what's not allowed, or who's going to come after them, if they do something they're not supposed to.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So what's, you've got obviously that big project and then this other big project. Is there end game? Is there like I'm going to stop when I do this?
No, I'll probably, I make a joke about it all the time that let them figure it out when I die, meaning like my family and everybody. I'm just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
But, I just keep on going. But like I said, though, I'm going to stop starting businesses and all that. And then just be an investor in other businesses and let somebody else shine for a bit and do all the hustle.
Yeah. So I have a feeling I know what your answer is, but if you were going to give advice to anybody who's listening, current business owner, hopeful entrepreneur, whatever it is, what's one or two pieces of advice that you would give them?
I guess, let's see. I mean, basically just, follow your dreams all the way through, and don't stop. Just keep on pushing, no matter what the bump in the road is, and you'll get to that next level. And basically, if you really want to do it right, it's really going to be one of those things where you're going to work your ass off from dusk till dawn every day to really open a business the right way.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is, man. A lot of people, they end up opening a business and they're like, wow, I'm working more than I was at my normal job, and like, what the hell did I do to myself? But you got the freedoms, the financial freedoms, and just the freedom to do, what you want. Being in business, and it's definitely the greatest thing is to be a business owner, follow the American dream and all that. And I don't know. So I hope that helps. But
I do have one more quiz now. I'm gonna. So the question is, how do you know? How I don't know if you've ever had something that you started that didn't work and then you shut it down, like a small investment or side project or whatever. But is there like a sign where it's like, I'm asking just because like you were saying, follow your dreams through to the end. But is there a moment where it's like, okay, this one maybe I should have?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I've got a couple examples. I know everybody's businesses are different or whatever, but so I'm mainly in construction, and so when I like building houses, you'll never catch me building houses again, man. I was building them, everything was going great, and then that pandemic hit. Everything just with everything. Yeah. But enough about the pandemic thing though. But there's just like I thought I was going to take it to the next level with that, and then you look at how much time you have in it at the end of the day, and what the what the profit is and all that, and it's just like some things they're great ideas at first, but you got to definitely, once you see what the true story is on it, it's good to let go on some things, and then put more focus on other things. But it's all trial and error. It's all you got to go with the flow, and you got to figure it out. So
for sure.
But there's a bunch of little construction business spin-offs I tried getting into, and I was like, nah, forget it. Roofing is what I do. I'm going to stick to it. That's where I can make the most money. I'm the most efficient. And but
you figure that out. You had 17 years into it. So
yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah,
man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
And for anybody who's watching or listening and they want to stay connected and see what's going on, where do they find more info on Flynstoned?
So I just I do everything right through my Instagram. And it's Mike Flynnstoned at Mike Flynnstoned. So, and that's where I'm putting all the updates on when we're going to open, all that kind of stuff. And
cool.
Yeah. So
well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.